Hey, yo, say hello to the bad guy, Scott Hall. In Your Head Online Radio.
All right, and we're back. Welcome to In Your Head Wrestling Radio. I am the internet icon. He's having a lot of trouble with his internet at the moment. But I am Jackie Jones, and I'm joined with my right-hand man.
1-inch biceps, the power goat. Booyah! I'm figuring out stuff. Oh, yeah. Bah! How about that?
Booyah. Oh, that's a good one. All right. And join us right now, and he's probably wondering why he is joining us, and that is the living legend, Larry Zbyszko.
How you doing, guys? The 1-inch booyah and bicep?
I think I like that better. I think I'll have to stick with that. 1-inch booyah!
Oh, okay. What in the hell's a booyah?
I don't know.
Oh, good.
Yeah, he just pulled that. That was the first time he said that. I think it was a special occasion because we have Larry back on the show.
Poor guy's only got a 1-incher, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's kind of, I think the ladies just go booyah whenever they see that.
Booyah. That makes sense. 1-inch, boo you, get the hell. Okay, I got it.
We do want to mention that Larry will be at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame and Fan Fest this weekend, this Saturday, in Warwick, Rhode Island, and you can go over to their brand new website, newenglandfanfest.com, to get all the ticket information. So, being in New England, how did wrestling in New England or the Northeast compare to wrestling around other parts of the country?
Well, you know, the whole New England area, when I started, back in the early 70s, that was the territory, the data territories. That was the WWF. And that was really the premier territory, biggest territory of them all for a couple of reasons. One, they encompassed the whole Northeast, from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, of course, to Boston, and the whole bit, which means they dealt with, major population. Mm-hmm. And in those days, the only publicity that came out to anybody else came out of New York, with the magazines, the Wrestler, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, or Inside Wrestling and all that. So, to be in the WWF was really the big time. And anybody that could get themselves in that Northeast territory, the Biggie, really, in those days, had a pretty good career laid out for them, because when they were done there, they had all the publicity from the mags and every other territory, the NWA, the AWA, whatever the Von Erichs were doing, or anybody. They were always in demand. So all your stars back then were made up there in the WWF in the Northeast.
Yeah. So, with the magazines, because this is way before the internet and stuff, if you had had the Big Bruno Feud maybe in another part of the country and you had left, it might not have been, known in another territory, but since it was, in the WWF, you still had all the heat coming out of that, the big feud.
Oh, yeah. The Bruno Feud was so ridiculously hot and huge, for that time. Mm-hmm. But, with all the, magazine coverage I had, for that year, 1980, it was, when I was done with that feud, I basically had to run for my life out of there. During that feud, because the people, they loved Bruno, and it was a different era, but I had my car smashed, I was shot at, I got stabbed, the police called me and told me, do not go near Little Italy. I was getting death threats. And it was a wild thing. And then after that, I just kind of left for a while because everybody wanted to kill me. Bruno hated me, the McMahons hated me, the fans hated me. But the other territories now were, dying for a fresh guy with all the publicity. And I wound up in the NWA and the AWA, and I'd be in, Big Deal in Japan and some other places. And how funny how fast time goes by. The next thing I knew, I was an announcer for WCW. Mm-hmm. Never did wind up back actively wrestling in the Northeast, the WWF, which changed its names a couple times. And then now I'm back with the WWE, and it's really cool. It's kind of like the end of a cool cycle of, the cycle of life is completing itself. And God, over the years, when I left in 1981 and to when I came back maybe a year and a half ago, I was at Giant Stadium for WrestleMania, and at the last, I mean, my mind is still blown on how awesome the company is and how huge it is, and it's just night and day from what it was. You know, when I started, it was basically still had half one foot in the circus, and now it's just it's an amazing organization. I really can't say enough cool things about it. I'm just so proud to be a small part of it back in the day, and hopefully it helped it become what it was today somehow.
Yeah. Have you talked with Vince McMahon himself since going back?
I have not had a chance to see Vince since I got back with the WWE and that, and at the Giant Stadium, the WrestleMania, the Giant Stadium last year. I tried to say hi and see him when I was at the back, but he was nowhere to be found. And then the one guy came by and said, "Oh, hey, he's in the production meeting." And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. After 30 years, it wouldn't be right to go in and disrupt the production meeting, 20 minutes before WrestleMania starts.
Yeah.
So I haven't had a chance to really bump into him yet.
Well,
I've been doing some stuff here at NXT and some stuff for the new network coming out. But I didn't have a chance to see Vince yet.
Yeah. Now, the new network, I mean, for a wrestling fan, it's awesome. You got all the old stuff and so much new content. And
well, you know what? Mm-hmm. I was thinking about that deal and thinking about it today. I was talking to Scott Hall earlier and some other people. And I tell you, it is a fantastic. You can't beat that. I mean, in our day, it was a different time when we had to sell tickets or we didn't eat.
Mm-hmm.
And to sell tickets, to the Garden and the big clubs and all that, But now it's basically the network is the same thing, and all you have to do is sell a fan one ticket a month for $10.
Yeah.
And you get all the pay-per-views, you get the whole history. I mean, it's really, I think it's awesome. I mean, I got it. I got the network.
Yeah, and you can watch.
And it's only going to get bigger and more programming. They own the whole history. There's going to be all kind of cool shows, and this generation will be able to watch the whole change over the last 30 years, how it went, and some of the famous characters I probably never even heard of. Some of this newer fans, but it should be great. I mean, the deal is unbeatable, I think.
Yeah. I love it, and they got the Legends House going on. Is that something you'd ever want to be a part of?
The Legends House will be well, you know what? I probably will be sooner or later because they filmed 10 episodes. I think they're getting down to the last one or two.
Yeah, I think last week was the season finale.
Oh, okay, yeah. So now they'll probably maybe do some repeats, but soon they're going to be filming more episodes of the Legends House. I'll probably be on one sooner or later. There's not too many legends left living. I don't know.
They gotta have the living legend on there.
Well, of course. And then they got some other shows they're going to be putting together. I did some other network show with Dusty and Terry Taylor last week down here at their facility in Orlando. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be some cool stuff. I think us older guys are going to become all more popular again.
Yeah, because the whole new generation gets to see you guys for the first time.
Yeah. They'll, I'm excited about it, and it's not even my network.
Well, it is a lot of fun. Can you watch it on the Razor phone?
No, I'm still old school when it comes to the Razor phone. I got the unlimited talk and text for $50. That's all I do.
Yeah.
But my buddies, are the computer geniuses, and they hook up stuff. And I got a big 55 or 6-inch TV, but it's a few years old. And it's not a smart TV. But then I went out and bought a smaller TV that's just a smart TV. It's a 32 or something. And I guess with a smart TV, in fact, there's supposed to be a guy coming over to set the damn thing up.
Yeah.
And then I think with that you can get being like YouTube or right on the network and all kinds of stuff. So I got a smart TV. But it's in the box until the Geek Squad gets here and hooks it up, because I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I personally got it's a Roku player. I got it specifically for the network, and yeah, it's awesome to watch stuff on the big screen. But it's cool to watch it on the computer too. But what do you do?
Oh yeah.
What do you do with NXT? Because I'm a big fan of NXT.
Well, I've been a big fan of NXT too. They film it 5 miles down the road from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been going down, and that was a big mistake, because now I am emotionally involved and entangled in all these new guys and, talent that's training there. They get the same dream I had. You can see it in their face. They want to learn. So it's really a cool place, and it's kind of like an omen, to me, where they would just happen to build this thing 5 miles down from my house.
Yeah.
And there's really not too many people left in the business that know what I know. So it's working out good, where I'm going to be involved. And when I go down there, I'm get a chance to pass down the hidden secrets of wrestling's Illuminati to a new era. So it's really cool.
Because, a lot of guys are, awesome athletes now, but there's going to be things that only guys that have been in the business for years, like yourself, would know, little intricacies of how to make, wrestling really work.
Well, yeah, there's a trick to it. I mean, you get a whole bunch of big, tough guys, but unless you figure out a way to be different, and with wrestling, like any other sport, people get, the fans get emotionally involved, with their favorites. Oh, I love this guy, or, oh, this guy on this team's an ass. I can't stand him. I mean, you get into their emotions, and that's the secret that they have to be taught, because they're great athletes. They got a great training facility. They're learning, moves and becoming wrestlers, but that's great, but to attach to the fans, you got to be a personality, and you have to be able to grab that microphone and talk to people, and let your character loose and be creative. So it's a different story. Any idiot can pick someone up and throw them, but drawing money is a different animal.
Mm-hmm. In a different way about being emotionally attached. For fans to see NXT and see the guys come up, from like developmental and then go to the big top, I think that adds emotional attachment too, because you get to see these guys, progress, and it's like, hey, that's a guy that I really rooted for when he was in NXT, and now he's,
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is. And again, if you look at the other side of that coin, for all these new guys coming up, there's a lot more pressure on them. I've noticed a lot more pressure on these guys lately, because NXT, was in a lot of overseas markets, but the people in America didn't see it. Now with the network, they're more above the radar. Mm-hmm. So they're really trying to get good as fast as they can, because a lot of people can see them. NXT is a lot more visible.
Yeah. Is that
now
good
with the network?
Is that good or bad, or is it a little bit of both? Because he says it's added more pressure to those guys to get better, but do you need that pressure to really, become...
You know what? You do. You need that pressure, brother, because if you're not good under pressure, you're not going to make it in professional wrestling. You get out in front of 25,000 people, it's live TV, and you got Vince McMahon staring at you in the monitor, and, and other pros that really know what they're doing, and it's a tremendous amount of pressure on these guys, because it's you can wind up moving up, and watch it on NXT, or on NXT you're going to expose yourself and never move up, So it's a lot of pressure, but again, if you can't handle that pressure, you ain't going to make it anyway.
Mm-hmm. I just want to ask something, because you brought up, commentary, and I always loved your commentary, and I love your little
Oh, thank you.
Sign your name in the air. And I know in Chris Jericho's book, he actually said you were the worst commentator I ever heard. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah, it was funny about that. I mean, I talked to Chris at Giant Stadium about that. We had kind of a laugh over it because I used it for pub. I remember me and Scott Hall did a last call once, and Scott was saying, yeah, Jericho knocked you in your book as the worst commentator. So I picked up a roll of toilet paper, and I said, yeah, I have a copy of his book right here. But, yeah, it was funny, but here's the story on that. And at the time, you know, Chris was a young guy, and he didn't know what he was doing except, you know, him, along with a bunch of other guys. There was a whole group of them. There was Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, and maybe even someone else, another guy. And these were the newer guys coming into WCW trying to get a break.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And they were getting upset at the promotion and a couple times at me, but it wasn't my fault. I remember one time I was sitting down eating lunch, and here they come. Jericho, Malenko, Saturn, and a couple other guys. But, you know, Eddie. But these were all guys, and they were good athletes, but they were all 5'8", 5'10", 180 pounds, 190 pounds. And at that time in WCW, who were the big stars that they were pushing? Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Sid Vicious. You know, these guys that are 6'8", 6'6", 300 pounds. So when they were wrestling these guys, every once in a while, you know, I'd be getting a message, you know, over the voice, you know, on the headsets, you know, about, hey, mention how much Sid Vicious towers over Dean Malenko, or, you know, or how much bigger Kevin Nash makes Jericho look like an ant. You know, like, I didn't want anybody telling me what to say, and I ignored them anyway. But I got the drift, and in that time, you know, what could you say? Jericho's as big as Sid Vicious, you know. So I think the guys kind of let some steam off on me, but it really wasn't me talking. The office wanted those points made to push their big stars who were giants compared to this kind of new generation of smaller, high-flying guys that were trying to get in.
Mm.
So I don't blame him for saying it. You know, if everybody liked everybody, it'd be a pretty boring world.
Yeah. Can you still bust out any rhymes like you did in Wrestle Rock Rumble?
So Wrestle Rock Rumble. Someone played that the other day. I don't know. I'm pretty good at rhyming stuff. Did you hear "Boo on Me"?
Everyone's talking about that in the chat room now, and I was.
All right.
I'm gonna check this out right after the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? It was weird because I made this record like in 1980-ish in some guy's basement that had a 16-track setup, and for the production it came out pretty good, you know, just for a thing done in the basement. And I printed out 1,000 vinyl discs, you know, back in them days, and started selling them, and then but that was it. There was 1,000 of them made, and they're very rare. Someone said they saw a couple on eBay. And then someone posted "Boo on Me" on Google. Someone sent me a copy of it. You can go on Google or something and find it, and it's MP3 and download. It's out there in cyberspace now somewhere. I've got a copy of it on CD, but you know the cassette version I had disintegrated long ago, but same version. But yeah, it wasn't a bad song either. In fact, I sent it to one of my little diva friends for a inspiration for her, and she thought I sounded better than Barry White.
Oh, well,
Are you saying we're going to get a remix down the road? Like a redone version of it?
We're going to leave it. Well, we could. But you never know. In this business, you never know.
Mm-hmm. Juju be here in the chat room. She says that she's actually listening to the song on loop in the background during the show right now.
Okay. God bless her.
Yeah, it's very nice of her. Now, I was a big fan of the Dangerous Alliance, and sometimes I think that gets maybe a little overlooked as a faction. What were your thoughts on the Dangerous Alliance?
Well, the Dangerous Alliance was cool on paper and had a good look for the time. I wasn't happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I wasn't happy, I didn't like being involved in groups. Groups were something that kind of evolved after I learned the business and was in it. I enjoyed being a single guy. You got more attention. You made more money. You had shots at world championships. You did better as a single guy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really like tag teaming. I did it once with Gorilla when I first started. And then in the WCW, I started getting a little older, but still in good shape. And then somehow me and Arn wound up as the enforcers. And Arn was great. And for some reason, when me and Arn, did the enforcers and walked out, and that must have been, I'm thinking, early 90s. I mean, the people went ape, just like the old days. You could feel the intensity. I mean, me and Arn were a good team, and I really enjoyed it. And he was a cool guy, and we had a great time. And then we, it lasted. We broke Barry Windham's arm. We beat up Kazmaier with a weight, and it was going real good. But then the politics of WCW changed, and Bill Watts came in. And he's the one that put together this group. And the Dangerous Alliance group with the names, I mean, they were great names. You had Rick Rude in there. You had Bobby Eaton, who couldn't talk but was great in the ring. Me, Arn, and before he became a super-duper star, stunning Steve Austin. Mm-hmm. But Bill Watts' philosophy was, when he came in, was everybody that was getting to be 40 years old was worthless, useless, and it's time for them to go and time for the young guys to get pushed. Mm-hmm. So that means he pushed his kid, Eric Watts, who didn't know diddly squat. And then when I saw what Bill Watts was doing, I decided to claim that my knee was injured, so I was going to take some time off. Because I didn't want to be involved in a group, and I didn't want to be involved with Bill Watts' personality. So I kind of got my knee fixed, and I was taking a couple of months off to rehab it. And in the meantime, they got rid of Jesse Ventura, who was doing the commentating or something. And one of the producers called me and said, "Hey, Larry, you're sitting there. Can you come in and do us a favor and voice over these shows for us?" And I said, "Sure. What the hell? I'm getting bored sitting here." So I went down and did a couple of voiceovers for them. And they ran back to producers, and they said, "My God, you're the best color guy we've ever heard. You're great." Mm-hmm. And I went, "Well, thank you very much." And then they offered me a job being a color guy. My first reaction was I was insulted. I said, "You got to be kidding me. I spent 20 years or so trying to become like my hero, Bruno, and now you want me to be Tony Schiavone?" So, but then the good news was they came back and they said, "Well, we can pay you this much." And I'm looking at the figure and I'm going, "This is more than I make wrestling." And they said, "Well, yeah, but you only have to work like maybe a day a week or a day and a half a week, in Nitro." So I started broadcasting, and for some reason I was always gifted with the gift of gab. And it just kind of started, that's how, I didn't plan it. It just kind of started like that. And it came real easy to me, and I loved doing it. And it kind of worked out good timing, too, because I was like a little over 40. But I was real lucky with injuries. Mm-hmm. And the broadcasting, it gave me more publicity than anybody because I was on all Nitro, and then I was doing all the syndicated shows and TBS, center stage shows. And no one was beating me up. I wasn't getting hurt. And now I'm looking at all the guys my age, and they've all got artificial knees and artificial hips and back surgeries and neck surgeries, and I've got nothing. I feel like I'm 30. So it all worked out good.
Yeah. Now, I know Bobby Heenan's going to be at the New England Pro Wrestling Fan Fest. What was it like, being around Bobby Heenan doing commentary?
Ah, it was heaven. It was heaven. Me and Bobby had so much fun those years doing the broadcasting because we didn't have to be involved in all the nonsense. I mean, I got involved in it when Eric, started because I was the guy that programmed the whole New World Order. But I could do it because me and Eric were friends, and he went back to the AWA, and Greg, my brother-in-law, Greg Gagne, was in the office with Eric, and so it worked out real good like that. What was your question? I forgot.
Just being around, Bobby Heenan during.
Heenan. Yeah, so me and Bobby, while everybody else was going berserk, all me and Bobby did was have fun. And when the show started, I did the first, half of it. And then the second half, when Bobby came out, I already grabbed one of the Nitro girls, my buddy Amy, and went off to the nearest casino, and I'd leave the building. So I was at some casino playing cards, hanging out with Amy, and still watching the end of the show.
Doesn't sound like a bad gig.
Great because, but then there's 25,000 people leaving at the same time, so I missed all the traffic.
Yeah. Did you see Bruno Sammartino inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yes. So, I was sitting there, and it was very nostalgic. The whole thing, and I'm proud to say that I played a good part in making that happen. Because for years they wanted Bruno in, and he wouldn't do it. But everything, it was like a big fairy tale. I mean, everybody is living happily ever after, and things are as they should be, and. It's a cool ending to a hell of a story. Yeah. Thank God they can talk about making a movie about some things.
Well, I've been talking about the Bruno movie for a long time. I'd be really interested if that ever, happens.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but there's some guy trying to push the Bruno movie.
Yeah. Now, just, I have a personal take on this, because we had Bruno on many times, and I always thought his, why he didn't want to go back to WWE was, he thought they should clean up certain aspects of the drug, and he didn't like some of the edgier stuff, and both of the drug testing, and they also have the it's rated PG, and then he went back. So in my hypocrite at all, but what are your takes on someone who does say that Bruno is a hypocrite for going to the WWE Hall of Fame?
Well, I'd have to say they're wrong, because Bruno, that was his thing for 20 years. When he left and, washed his hands of working anymore with Dare, he was against what they were doing. And I think for years, when they were trying to get him and make things up and all that, that was Bruno's hang-up. He was he would not be a hypocrite. When Bruno says, something, he means it. If and like I said, I checked some things out, and I was talking to Bruno a lot, and I was a big help in setting Bruno up with some other people that were involved in the WWE. Plus, he was talking to some other people outside, like a Dr. Maroon, who worked with the WWE a lot with all their guys. And to make a long story short, Bruno does not feel like a hypocrite anymore, because his point was made, and after he did all the research and checked things out and wound up talking to people, he realized that the WWE, the crazy, wacky business wrestling is, and the phases it went through, which was not much different than any other sport, baseball, football, basketball, with all the roids and all that stupid nonsense. But the WWE, has become over the years a great company. and they take care of guys, and they don't do any raunchy stuff anymore. They put their foot down to the steroids. They just want athletes. And so, you know, after Bruno realized that, you know, okay, you couldn't be a hypocrite anymore, because the WWE became a great company, and Bruno sees it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, that's really where he belongs. That's where, you know, he's back there.
Mm-hmm.
There was another question from the mess.
Yeah, I got one from Easy E on the message board. He wants to know, how is Scott
You're
Hall
breaking
doing?
up on me a bit. You got a what?
Yeah. I got a message board question from Easy E. He wants to know, how is Scott Hall doing nowadays?
You know, Scott's doing pretty damn good for Scott. I just talked to him this afternoon, because he's going to be there too. And I was doing some stuff with him in New Orleans with him and Diamond and Jake, and that was cool. But Scott's doing real good. I'm proud of him. He fought demons for a long time, but it looks like he kicked their ass, and he's doing good, and I'm real proud of the guy. So, And he's such a cool guy, you know, when he's not with the demons. I think the demons are gone.
Yeah. Steven from Toronto, he wants to know, do you feel like the cool heels like the NWO had a negative effect on the wrestling business over time?
Did it have a negative effect?
Yeah, he's like saying like, you know, the heels that come out and the fans like them.
Well, not really.
Cheered.
I mean, the New World Order was the hottest thing that wrestling ever had ever, and it made the business huge. And then when, you know, it went into competition with the WWE for the first time, I mean, you guys realize how huge it got. I mean, the ratings between the two of them were doing like an 11 and 12. We made Monday Night Football look like it didn't exist, you know, when they were, you know, going back and forth. So the New World Order was really a good shock to wake up the world into how cool wrestling is. Because before that, in the early 90s, wrestling was stale. I mean, no offense to these guys, because these guys were great talents, but the WCW was nothing but the NWA with a different name. So now you're still watching Flair and Wyndham and Arn and Dolly. I mean, you're watching the same guys for the last 15 years. So when the New World Order happened, it was like, you know, setting off a nuclear bomb over something that was boring, and it just exploded into like, you got to be kidding, this is awesome. It shocked the crowd, you know. So it was great.
Kyle Gage wants to know, what was up with the nunchucks?
I'll tell you what was up with the nunchucks. Now, this is how things happen when you don't plan them. When I was, you know, preparing to be a pro wrestler, ever since the 8th grade, and Bruno was my hero, and I started lifting weights. I joined the amateur wrestling teams. Between wrestling seasons, I took martial arts, jiu-jitsu, Isshinryu karate, and anything I, you know, could do to become the toughest, you know, best wrestler, strong guy I could, because I was going to be, I was gone. I was going to be a wrestler, you know, and then that was it. There was nothing going to stop me. And I used to carry the nunchucks around in my bag for a couple of reasons. One, people hated me, and they tried, you know, I mean, a couple of times I came close to being removed. But so the nunchucks, sometimes, you know, I could come out of a building, and if a mob came at me, I could start swinging and freak them out and make it to safety.
Mm-hmm.
But then what I used to do with them in the dressing room, I'd swing them around, and I'd loosen up my shoulders and kind of use it as a loosening up exercise and coordination to loosen up. So one day I'm in the shower swinging away with the nunchucks, and Vern Gagne walks by, and he has no idea what the hell these things are. He doesn't know. And he says, "What the hell is that?" And I was like, "Well, it's an old nunchuck, it's an old Japanese martial arts weapon." And they were just becoming kind of popular because of the Bruce Lee movies and that were happening in those days. And Vern said, "That's the kind of new stuff I'm looking for." And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell do you think? I'm Bruce Lee? I'm just using these to warm up. It's not like... Anyway, the next thing I know, he flies in some guy from Japan. Now I've got a, Mr. Go sidekick. And he wanted me to come out with the Nunchucks. So I did. I put on some displays with it. And then a couple of times it came in handy when I knocked out Bockwinkel. But it was kind of like just something you didn't plan that Vern saw and wanted to stick it in. And he was paying, so I said, "Hey, it would be my pleasure to hit Nick Bockwinkel with this nunchuck."
Yes, I want to ask, because you wrestled Harley, near the end of your AWA stay for the title. What was it like?
Wrestling Harley?
Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit on me.
Yeah, you're breaking up on me, Jack, too.
All right. Well, just repeat what I asked, Inchman.
I don't know what you asked.
Well, just...
I think it was something about wrestling Harley Race.
Yeah, I believe it was a question about Harley Race.
Well, I wrestled Harley Race around in 1989-90 when I had the AWA World Belt. And I didn't really want to wrestle him at first because I felt sorry for the guy. Because Harley, I was still kind of in my prime and strong as an ox. And Harley he was already getting over his prime. And he was kind of hurt and beat. Even though he was crazy, Harley was a tough, crazy guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he was his name, and so I wound up wrestling him. And I tell you, I was surprised because even with the age difference, Harley was just such a natural. He was just a tough guy, and I had a hard time with him. And he was flying over the ropes and bouncing off the floor. And he was insane, but very impressive guy. Those days, Harley was probably one of the last of the breeds. You get Harley and Bruno and Vern and some of those other guys. You're talking about an era that made men. Men were men. Women did the dishes, and that was the world. The men of today don't have a clue what it was like to be a man 50 years ago. They're not men anymore. I think men have been demasculinated somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's a plan or what, but it's like the men today aren't nothing like the men when I started, brother.
Well, with that...
Mad Dog Vachons and these guys, they were nuts. Big, tough bastards. And crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Larry, I really appreciate you coming on tonight. We actually have an interview scheduled with Harley Race, and we're about to bring him on here at 9 o'clock. But, it's the New England Pro Wrestling Fan Fest, June 21st in Warwick, Rhode Island. You can go to newenglandfanfest.com is where you can find out all the information about that. But really appreciate you coming on tonight, Larry.
Well, guys, I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody out there. I get a kick out of these because this is a chance. Back in my day, too, one of the things was I didn't want to get stabbed and shot anymore, so I stayed away from the fans. But it's really a cool feeling when you get to meet them now and they look at you like they finally saw Bugs Bunny in real life,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really surprised now. And it's probably the network's going to make us old guys even more popular.
Oh, yeah.
Fairly soon. But I'm amazed how many young people in their 20s and stuff know all about me and know all about the Bruno Feud and the WCW stuff. And, so I'm going to have a ball this weekend. I'm looking forward to meeting everybody. So this will be a good time. Hey, it's not cold up there, is it?
I'm not sure what the weather is up there right now. But
it's very...
I think he says it's nice and warm.
Good. Good.
Yes.
Okay, I'll leave the jacket at home.
Thank you so much, Larry.
All right, well, I'm flying in Friday, guys. I will see you this weekend.
Excellent.
Okay.
Have fun.
This is Bruno Sammartino, and you're listening to In Your Head online on